What is up? It is Shiny Boy the Sports Guru coming to you with um something I did for my college class, and I kind of want to share it with all of you because it puts into focus, my life, my story. So I'm gonna read it for you. This is the true story and memoir of Sean Quinn, aka Shiny Boy the Sports Guru. Looking back to my very first days of life, I was born in Spring Hill, Florida to my amazing parents, John and Jonah Quinn. My mother was born and raised here as well, and my father is originally from Massachusetts and moved down here in 1993. They met in 97. 4 years later, I was born on February the 18th, 2001. I made it to 23. Most of my early years were spent with my family, learning the small things of what this life has to offer. In 2004, at the age of 3, my parents got married and still are 20 happy years later. I was also blessed with two brothers, one older, one younger. And in a matter of days, my older brother's going to be married. So we're excited. We were always supported by my grandparents, extended family, and countless friends. Then in 2005, I started school at a place in Venice called the Young's Children Academy. My class was taught by a lady named Miss Bannister then, Mrs. Ward now. While there, I learned how to grow both individually and together with an entire group. And how fitting it was just a short time ago, she found me on Facebook after I was wondering about her all these years. It was while I was there I could name any player on any baseball team. Everyone was like, wow, how can he do that? As great as it was not normal for a 4-year-old to do this. From there, I was diagnosed with autism at 4. My parents were told he would never play team sports, never be social with others, can't do this, can't do that. I would go on to play baseball, basketball, flag football, soccer, golf, and so much more. From there, in 2006, I went to Myakka River Elementary School. During my 6 years there, I continued to engage and see both highs and lows of both teachers and friends, which many of them I'm still in contact with and great friends with today. I did cherish my time at Myakka, and I thank them for all they did for me over those years. Then, in the summer of 2012, me and my family decided it was time to move on. After lots of deciding, I ended up at Genesis Christian Academy. My first year started with a bunch of unknowns. When you're new at a place, not knowing anybody you don't know, how's it going to play out, if it's going to go well or not. That first open house, I first met the two people who would become guiding lights and grandparent figures in my life, Mr. and Mrs. McCombs. They gave me the endless validation that yes, I was meant to be here. The first friend I made at GCA was a girl named Kelsey DeBruler, and many more were soon to follow. A short time later, a guy named Coben Mitchell, who would come up to me one day and say, "Hey Sean, how are you?" That's when I knew that Sean had arrived. Throughout that first year, I would truly find out who I was as a person and how to eventually become a leader in future years. I also got to meet great people whose stories would inspire me to be better and get better every day. People like Michael Bell, Shanoa Hardin, Rebecca Anderson, Contessa Brown, Chloe Morgan, Taylor Gordon, Natalie Wood, Doug Cook, Gabe Belmore, and so many more. My second year, I split between 6th and 7th. I skipped a grade, and from there I was able to make and build more friendships people like Tyler Fisher, Nicole Emery, Lakota Moore, Tara Scora, Alexis McLennan, Olivia Fulham, and John and Kate Bennett. Years 3 and 4, I started to develop and relish that leadership role at GCA and be the one that a lot of other students could turn to. But I still continued to learn from them, no matter if it was their first or their 5th year. And the endless friendships didn't stop there. People like Megan Eakin, Devin Lazarski, Ben and Rachel Nolan, and their entire family, Taylor Rafferty, and Shannon Jarvis. My junior and senior years were the culmination of all I accomplished at GCA. I was able to graduate 1 year early at 17 in 2018. The night I graduated, me and my best friend Tyler dreamed of being on the graduation stage together. It wasn't a journey, however, without its hardships, its not so good times, and its difficult bumps. But I was lifted up and encouraged by the most amazing support cast anyone could certainly ask for. There's a saying, treat a person as they are and they will remain as they are. Treat a person as they should be and they will become what they should be. In 2019, I was offered my first job as a dishwasher at a restaurant in Englewood called Primetime Steak and Spirits. There, I would learn how to work in a family environment and the true values of teamwork and dedication. Later that year, I applied to work spring training for the Tampa Bay Rays. What a dream come true for me. During my 2 springs with the Rays, I got to meet, get autographs, take pictures with players, see games, and have experiences I will never forget. After graduating, I also developed other interests, like performing arts, cooking, collecting, and so much more. One of my favorite actresses, Mrs. Jodie Benson, she uses the scripture John 15:5. I am the vine, you are the branches. They that abideth in me, and I in him, that strengthen forth much fruit. For without me, you could do nothing. Now, I'm not the most religious guy on the planet. I'm not going to be a pastor. I'm not going to be involved in any religious stuff or anything like that. I mean, the place I go to college is considered a Bible college. But more on that in a little bit. In 2020, a year which I thought would be a great start of a new decade, well, I was wrong. The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic putting the entire world on hold, spring training that year got cut short, and just weeks before I was at the movies with my best friend Tyler. Months later, nothing could prepare me for the nightmare that was next. I got a phone call in the middle of the night saying that he was in a diabetic coma. I stayed up all that night praying and hoping that he would pull through. And the next day, I got the call my best friend had died at just 20 years old. At his memorial, I said my best friend Tyler will be my strength and courage for the rest of my life. Later, we moved into a double modular trailer in El Jobim, where we would live for a year and a half. During that time, I would get another job at another restaurant, again as a dishwasher, at a place called Ken and Barb's Grove City Kitchen. There, I would continue to gain work experience and continue to be an asset to a good business. After I left there, I was thinking about where I would go or what I would do next when we saw a storm developing. Now, at the time, I'm like, we've seen this before. It's probably nothing to worry about. The next days, we would see it strengthen into the Category 5 hurricane named Ian. We didn't know what to do at that point, to stay and take our chances or go somewhere else to ride it out. The night before it hit, we decided to go to a hotel in Punta Gorda and pack only our pets, 2 changes of clothes, and a toothbrush each for the 4 of us. That night, the electricity went out, the wind outside was howling, and the next morning, I looked outside the hotel. It looked like a war zone. The damage was extensive, things thrown around, broken, smashed to pieces, destroyed, you name it. So we would drive home later that day to find our entire home ripped to shrapnel. We were saved, but our home and most of our belongings were not. To think we're one decision from being seriously injured or even killed, becoming victims of Ian. But yet for some reason, we were spared. Spending 2 weeks on a boat, a month and a half in a mother-in-law apartment, 2 weeks in a motel in Siesta Key where we would spend Thanksgiving, 2 months in an Airbnb where we would spend Christmas and New Year's. After that tumultuous period, we moved to a house in Northport for 6 months to finally get back on our feet. After those 6 months, we moved to another temporary place in Punta Gorda. And from there, things are finally starting to look up for us. Losing our home taught me to always see and enjoy the positives, no matter how big or small a situation is. Also, never to look down on anyone. Be an example and set a standard, and know it's not about what you do for yourself. It's about what you do for others. I came to that college not to get an associate's for me, but to show that no matter what you've done before, or what you've been through, or no matter what disability you may have, you 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 can still do and achieve anything you put your mind to. Another one of my favorite actresses, Mrs. Paige O'Hara, quoted saying, "I'm older and wiser, but I still dream of doing new things and creating new things." There's a scripture, 2 Timothy 4:7. I have fought a good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Well, I'm sure many people will say that Sean fought a good fight, finished all these races, and most certainly kept the faith. Now, I'm not gonna be a minister or do anything in religion or anything like that. I want to get an associate's to show people that it don't matter what you've done before or what you've been through or this. I'm there to show all my family, all my friends, and maybe hopefully people outside of my life that you can still do anything, no matter what happened. And that's what I want to prove with this project, this adventure, this opportunity. So anyway, love you all.